Oh boy, Donald Trump definitely has been busy lately, as of course he plans a major trip over to the Middle East that is really pissing off one of our very close allies. As some people are mad and some people are happy. What's really going on here? As of course, Donald Trump is talking about this being one of the most important trips of his presidency, as it looks like he's going to be bringing forth a new peace proposal for all of the Middle East. What's really going on here is there's one country that's not too happy about these proceedings, that they might actually be left out of, as of course they are not participating in what Donald Trump wants them to do. What's really going on here? What are the bigger ramifications? Well, let's just get right into it, as of course the battle begins for peace in the Middle East, really. Something that of course is a very difficult task to achieve, but if there's anyone up for the job, it's probably the United States, the number one hegemonic power, with the power of the petrodollar and sanctions and advanced military tech. There's a lot of wheeling and dealing and bargaining to be done here, especially since, Henry Kissinger went over to the Middle East and set up the petrodollar system that we are currently under right now. As Donald Trump is saying that he's going to be visiting a lot of countries, but one country that he will not be visiting is Israel. Interesting. As of course he promised to, of course, visit Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. All trips that are scheduled for next week, as even we had major Trump officials cancel their trips to Israel at the same time. What's going on here? Why are people within Trump's administration canceling the trips here? Why is Donald Trump not going to visit the number one chief ally of the United States here, as we are finding out that Benjamin Netanyahu is not too happy with Donald Trump, as he is, quote, privately voicing his frustrations with Donald Trump's Middle Eastern policies. As U.S. President says the right things with Iran and Syria, but this is not the reflection in his actions, according to Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, that is not happy with what Donald Trump is doing. Now, what is Donald Trump doing? Well, he's promising to bring lasting peace to the ever so tumultuous Middle East. Now, of course, this is a big task. This is not going to be easy, but we saw a little bit of what he was trying to achieve during his first term, when he was trying to, of course, do the Abraham Accords. Now, the Abraham Accords really weren't followed through because Biden became president, and it was really just solely based off countries kind of being paid off to kind of comply and be okay with each other. Predominantly, the country that a lot of people were at odds with was Israel, and the United States used a lot of monetary policies in order to try to make everyone get along in the Middle East here. But it looks like there's one participant that doesn't want to get along here, as we are also finding out that Trump allegedly cut ties with Netanyahu as the rift deepens with Donald Trump's Middle East strategy, as there are some very interesting media reports coming out of Israel talking about how the two have been further apart more than ever. As we remember, just a few days ago, Donald Trump fired his national security advisor because he was backdooring, making deals, and initiating policy for the pure benefit of Israel. He wanted the United States to attack Iran, then he wanted the United States to protect Israel after attacking Iran for Israel. Donald Trump was frustrated with that and said, no, you're going to be fired. We're going to make you the UN ambassador, but get out of here, get out of this White House. As many people within this administration came out and said, yeah, the guy was pretty much not working for Trump. He was working for Israel. And this is the first kind of signal from Donald Trump saying, yeah, your sphere of influence isn't going to be as powerful here. As already, let's be honest with ourselves, Donald Trump's administration has been kind of bending over backwards when it comes to criticism, mean words, and op-eds of anything critical of Israel, that they are pulling out the full judicial gauntlet for. If you're a student on a visa program, legally coming here, filling out the paperwork properly, getting the right permissions, and you criticize America, you're cool. You criticize Saudi Arabia, cool, Russia, Poland, you can criticize any country you want, except for Israel, and then the very limited resources that ICE already has, the very difficult situations that ICE already is dealing with the shortage of adequate manpower and equipment and staff to conduct the deportations of criminals. They're taking their resources and they're going after students that have opinionated opinions about American geopolitics related to Israel. And then, of course, they get deported, and then ICE agents show up at their house. So already, this administration has been giving Israel a lot, except for a full-on Middle Eastern war. As we have to remember, Benjamin Netanyahu came to the United States in 2002 and said, Iraq, they have nuclear weapons. We got to stop them. We're going to attack you guys. We did. And that was one of the biggest foreign policy follies that the United States empire has committed that was absolutely detrimental and caused tremendous amounts of chaos, havoc, death, and destruction in the Middle East because of that. Now, it looks like Donald Trump is trying to do the exact opposite of that. As Benjamin Netanyahu came to the United States and said, now it's Iran that has nuclear weapons and is going to attack you and do this. And Donald Trump's like, no. And the Israelis are pissed off. As the Jerusalem Post has a very interesting article here, and a lot of this is building up to some very interesting criticisms from Donald Trump here, as it looks like he's definitely turning the tide here when it comes to what we are going to be seeing, which might even make Saudi Arabia the bigger ally of the United States over Israel. How is that going to happen? Will Saudi Arabia even get nukes from the United States? That's what's being negotiated. We're going to tell you about that in just a little bit. Before we do, we want to tell you about wearechange.shop, one of the best shops out there on the internet. And it really has some of the greatest, best quality products out there. One of my favorites is magnesium glycinate. Lots of people are very deficient in magnesium, and you could tell magnesium is key towards getting proper rest and recovery, helping out your nervous systems. Lots of people's nervous systems are just fried. They're like, their guts are destroyed. Their dopamine systems are just constantly hitting for the gamification, social media gratification, egotistical type of narcissistic society that's being built all around us through the technocrats that are soon going to be taking over all our society. But with that happening, a good night's sleep is essential towards fighting the future Terminator fights that we're going to be fighting. And that's why I really like magnesium glycinate. I'm going to be taking some with my last meal of the day personally. And before taking anything into your own body, do your own homework, do your own due diligence. But magnesium glycinate, one of the best magnesiums out there to take. And you really do notice just an overall physical and mental well-being, happiness in my own personal body, in my own personal experience through taking this stuff. Again, also helps with athletic performance. And sadly, we used to get our magnesium from fruits and vegetables and things that we used to grow in the ground. But because of monocropping and nutrients just being absolutely sucked out of the soil with monocropping, lots of the food that we used to eat don't have as much magnesium as it had before. And that's why supplementation is essential. And magnesium is one of those key elements that really, once your body is having a lot of, man, it is running optimally. Check it out, wearechange.shop, and appreciate all of you guys that support this independent media network by buying our good, high-quality products. And, of course, not getting the gas station store kind that's filled with a bunch of bull crap. Now, there's a big thing that Donald Trump did here that didn't get a lot of news, and it should. He, in the beginning of his administration, conducted one of the biggest military campaigns of his political career. They spent about $2 to $3 billion bombing the poorest country in the world with the lowest literacy rates, the highest drug rates, a country dealing with massive humanitarian crises that are unfolding within it, bombing the Houthis. The Houthis that attacked a freight ship in November of last year. That was the last attack, as their capabilities were laughed at by the U.S. Pentagon here. but we spent a lot of military resources going after the Houthis who said predominantly, we want a ceasefire in Gaza. If there's a ceasefire, we won't bother anyone. The trade route will be open. We won't launch any missiles. And when there was a ceasefire, there wasn't any kind of problems from the Houthis. The ceasefire between Israel and the Gazans. But the ceasefire ended. A lot of people point to Israel breaking that ceasefire. The Israelis are saying, no, it was the Gazans. It was Hamas. They didn't give back the hostages. The Gazans and the Hamas people were like, no, it was Israel. Again, in a time of war, no one really is telling the truth. Let's just be honest with ourselves. But a lot of independent experts are like, yeah, it was kind of Israel that ended this ceasefire deal. Then fighting started again. Donald Trump started to bomb Yemen because Yemen was bombing Israel. Now, the United States just announced that they will stop attacking the Houthis in Yemen. Now, Donald Trump is saying that the group capitulated, but this could be in part to the breakdown of relations between Israel and the United States, because the United States was bombing the Houthis not for global trade. I mean, that was all a misnomer. That was not the truth here. The trade route predominantly was affecting China, okay? Right? And a little bit of Europe, but it wasn't affecting the United States. They were doing it because the Yemenis were bombing Israel. And that's the true kind of undercurrent of why Donald Trump was launching this very aggressive, his biggest, most aggressive military campaign of his entire political career. That right now has just ended, and they have officially signed a ceasefire between the United States and the Houthis in Yemen. Oman has confirmed the ceasefire, that it has been reached, and Donald Trump has stopped this very aggressive, costly military campaign. And it probably is in part towards the breakdown of relations between Israel and the United States, as the Israelis are, according to a lot of Trump officials, very difficult to work with. And they do not plan on initiating a ceasefire that the United States wants them to initiate. The United States, this is according to the sources within the White House, came to Israel and said, guys, just do a ceasefire. Stop the fighting. Stop the conflict. This is getting a little ridiculous. Please stop. Israel's like, we're going to call up the reservists and we're going to occupy it and we're going to flatten all of Gaza and we're going to make it our own territory. This pissed off the United States, and now we're having a breakdown in communications, and Donald Trump's being like, I'm not even going to visit you. I'm going to be in the region. You're going to be next door. I'm not even going to visit you. There's some people that also have some interesting things that kind of built up to this kind of breakdown of relations. As we have to remember, on January 7th, Donald Trump posted a video of Jeffrey Sachs literally calling Netanyahu a deep state son of a bee. Not kidding you. Here's the clip that we had Donald Trump post on Truth Social.
1995 onward, the theory that the only way we're going to get rid of Hamas and Hezbollah is by toppling the governments that support them. That's Iraq, Syria, and Iran. And the guy's nothing if not obsessive. And he's still trying to get us to fight Iran this day, this week. He's a deep, dark son of a bitch, sorry to tell you, because he's gotten us into endless wars, and because of the power of all of this in the U.S. politics, he's gotten his way. But that war was totally phony. So what is this democracy versus dictatorship? Come on. These are not even sensible terms.
Yeah. Donald Trump posting that was a pretty big deal, as Donald Trump also released statements in his own way saying that if we're going to bomb Iran, it's going to be our decision, essentially saying that Netanyahu will not be the one dictating U.S.-American foreign policy. He said that pretty publicly. As right now, Trump is still pursuing negotiations with Iran, as Israel just wants the United States to bomb Iran. The firing of Michael Waltz, and it's not just Waltz, his sister-in-law was fired essentially from the Surgeon General position because of the accusations against Waltz, who, again, was accused of serving Israel, not the United States here. Now, him making peace with Yemen, big deal here. big, big, big deal here because essentially the United States no longer will be the air force for the Israelis with this particular conflict. Israeli media is reporting Trump just cut off Netanyahu, not even talking to him, not even picking up his phone. Trump's Secretary of Defense just canceled his trip to Israel. And Trump's ambassador to Israel states that the United States does not need Israel's approval to, quote, make peace with Yemen. Yeah, pretty big deal here, according to Jackson Hinkle, who made these posts himself here. He's not the most accurate on this situation, but it's pretty fair to say here the overall gist of what he's been saying here is pretty much true, and that's confirmed even with mainstream media reporting here, as we have this article from the AP. Trump slammed Netanyahu from congratulating Biden. This is a story all the way back in 2021, and there's been a rift between these guys for a while. Let's be real with ourselves here, as Donald Trump found Netanyahu to allegedly have crossed him by calling and congratulating Joe Biden when the election was still being questioned in 2020. Now, there are now new reports. Trump, disappointed with Netanyahu, will continue Middle East policy objectives without Israel. Quote, the United States is disappointed with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, citing two senior sources close to the president. According to this Hebrew language newspaper, in closed-door conversations, Trump said he was going to make progress on the objectives in the Middle East without waiting for Israel. Now, what is Donald Trump trying to do? He's trying to get a ceasefire with Gaza and Israel. Now, Israel, according to Donald Trump, according to senior sources, it is Israel that is saying that they will not comply with this. And Israel is pissed off that there is a Houthi ceasefire announcement. Wow. Now, this is another article that's pretty interesting here. Trump sidelines Netanyahu in Middle Eastern policy as relations deteriorate. Another one here by the Jerusalem Post. U.S. officials, if Israel doesn't wake up, U.S. will advance Saudi deal without it. The U.S. official said that Trump is growing frustrated with Israel's approach and that he intends to push on a deal regardless of Israel's position, which, of course, is everything that we've been saying here. Now, what's the type of deal that Donald Trump is trying to achieve here? I think that's important to talk about here, because what is at stake here are the development of a bigger relationship between not Israel and America, but the United States and Saudi Arabia, as Donald Trump is going to try to bring the Middle East together through the Abraham Accords. Saudi Arabia could potentially be asked to recognize a lot of countries, make alliances with a lot of countries that they previously didn't have alliances with, in exchange for advanced U.S. military tech and an American-led U.S. nuclear program with Saudi Arabia. A Saudi Arabian U.S. nuclear weapons program is being negotiated here, as that would be pretty big here. Now, some people would say that would be the wrong decision, but some people are saying that this is a part of the negotiations that are happening with Iran right now. But what's going to be happening with the UAE? What's going to be happening with all these other countries that Donald Trump's going to be a part of, visiting, talking to? What deals are going to be made with or without Iran or Israel or Gaza? That's going to be interesting, because right now it's fair to say bringing sectarian tribes that have been fighting each other historically with the Sunnis, the Shiites, the Kurds. There's so many different ethnicities and ethnic groups and religious groups inside of the Middle East. And we saw people being forced to live with each other, fight with each other, which also helped create this kind of rise of the dictatorships in the Middle East. Once those dictatorships were taken down, there's a lot of turmoil that, of course, was created. We saw that with what happened with Iraq. We're seeing that right now with Syria. We saw that with Libya, which is continued to be a failed state that brought back human slavery all through American intervention. It's fair to say here that what Donald Trump is doing is a lot different than what his predecessors have done before, creating a situation where they essentially shake up the beehive. It looks like Donald Trump's trying to calm down this beehive, and it looks like Israel is not playing along with the United States. And the United States isn't playing ball with Israel. Now, Donald Trump still is calling for ceasefires with Ukraine, is calling for new Abraham Accords, is calling for new deals, is calling for the Middle East to come together. As, of course, there's a lot at stake here, especially when it comes to the future of the U.S. petrodollar, especially when it comes to the United States helping Saudi Arabia potentially become the number one hegemonic power within the Middle East. As what is Saudi Arabia going to be doing for us? Well, they have a lot of energy. They have a lot of oil. And what is Israel doing for us? What do they have for us? What's that? What? Huh? Interesting. It looks like the relationships are breaking down here. And it'll be interesting to see the exact deal, the exact negotiations. Because, again, Donald Trump has been talking about getting rid of all nuclear weapons. But if he's going to be giving Saudi Arabia advanced nuclear weapons, that's definitely a different type of play here that we did not foresee happening. Well, whatever does happen, we're going to be calling it as honestly as we can here. If you thought I got anything wrong, let me know down in the description below. I wouldn't be able to be here if it wasn't for you guys supporting this independent media organization. This is why I always end the broadcast by saying, I love you guys. Get some magnesium glycinate. WeAreChange.shop. Stay tuned for more. All here exclusively on youtube.com/WeAreChange.